Welcome to MHS. Congratulations! MHS stands for Morgan Haroun Sachs, which is the world's #1 pretend finance company. Come with me. You will go through our Financial Analyst Training Program Bootcamp. Here you will learn a lot about finance and investing, with no theory. You will rotate through the many divisions of our firm, and we will discuss how to excel in 14 different financial analyst roles. I will also help you understand which finance role you're most passionate about, and how to get hired and promoted in the industry. You will deal with the employees and clients of our firm in edutaining, meaning entertaining and educational interactive case studies, including how an IPO works, how to manage risk, and how to manage a portfolio. You will create incredible investment research reports that will impress the heck out of anyone in the finance industry. This course is for anyone who wants to be a financial analyst, or a better investor, stock picker, portfolio manager, and more. No prior experience is necessary. It includes a comprehensive Excel template to help guide you through our training program. In addition, I will teach you Excel skills so you can model financial statements and value companies from scratch. This course is based on my many years of experience. I'm an MBA graduate from Columbia University. I've gone through the Global New Hire Financial Analyst Training Program at Goldman Sachs in New York, London, and Tokyo. I've worked for top hedge funds, and I even started my own hedge fund and venture capital firms. This course is more than 22 hours long. This is the most thorough financial analyst and investing course available on the market. The student reviews have been amazing. Welcome to the Morgan Haroun Sachs training program. This will be a lot of fun. I'll see you in the morning. Welcome to our 278th weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way this call works is this is an AMA, like you see on Reddit, meaning ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, investing questions, startup questions, whatever you want, personal growth questions too. And my humble goal is to help you take your career to the next level. Now, the theme today is going to be investment banking. And so I've got the fictitious firm here called Morgan Haroun Sachs, which has a very long and not so rich history since 2017. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly walk through why companies do IPOs and why companies need to hire investment bankers. Now, before I do that and before I take your questions, please keep typing them. I want you to know that I've got a special going on right now. You get all of my courses, 7-day trial, including my MBA program for free. Cancel anytime. Then after 7 days, it's $99 per month. And the way to access that is to go to learn.harounventures.com, and I'll go there very quickly with you. All right, so if you go to learn.harounventures.com and you scroll down, you'll see you can get access to all of my courses plus my Silver MBA, which includes 1 hour per week or 4 hours per month of group Zoom Q&A. $99 per month after the 7-day free trial. Cancel anytime. The value of all this is close to $7,000. All right, now let me get to the rest of this webcast. So why does a company hire an investment bank? The reason is because they need to raise capital fast. And it's almost impossible for any company or government to be able to raise billions of dollars really quickly without working with an investment bank. I'll show you a couple of examples. So Facebook was able to raise about $12 billion back in 2012 by doing an IPO. It would have been hard for them to raise money otherwise. In 1945, the American government had to hire JP Morgan to be able to raise a ton of money through issuing bonds, and these are war savings bonds. So it's almost impossible to raise money quickly without doing it through an investment bank. Now, tomorrow on my weekly vlog that's going to drop at 9 a.m. Pacific time on my YouTube channel, I'm going through the IPO for a company called Ice Juice. And I'm going to go through this in a lot of detail as well. And for those of you that watch Billions, you'll understand this little joke here. And if you have questions about IPOs or investment banking, you can either watch tomorrow's vlog, which is going to be 45 minutes long, or you can ask me right now. All right. let me get to your questions. All right, first up, question is from Animals, who wrote, thanks for sharing your knowledge. You're most welcome. I prepared some questions for today. Absolutely. Your first question is, why is Buffett comparing his results with the Dow but not the S&P 500? Yeah. So the Dow Jones Industrial Index is 30 stocks, 30 of the largest companies in the United States. And larger companies usually have dividends, or there's a higher probability of them having a decent dividend yield. The S&P 500, which is the benchmark I prefer to look at, includes many companies that do not have dividends. Now, since Warren Buffett is more of a value investor, dividends are very important to him. And as a result, he might compare his fund, which is Berkshire Hathaway, to the Dow 30. I don't agree with that, though, because the Dow 30 is not a good representation of the U.S. economy. It's 30 older companies that are quite large. So I think the best benchmark to look at is the S&P 500. Now, in terms of where do I put my money, always do your research first. But I put my money in the VOO when I'm not sure what stocks to buy. And so the VOO is an ETF that outperforms most mutual funds. Mutual funds are a scam. And this represents the 500 biggest companies in the United States, or most important companies. And the fees are only 3 pennies per $100 you invest per year. And so the bottom line is, I think a better benchmark to compare yourself against, if you're Mr. Buffett or any mutual fund manager or hedge fund portfolio manager, is the S&P 500. Okay. Next question is, what is the price of DNA sequencing? Yeah. So it's between $399 and $999 right now. And I recommend that people do it, especially with newborns, because you can find out what diseases or health issues you might have longer term. Now, I did this years ago, and what the doctor found out was that my eyesight will deteriorate materially by the time I reach 60. I'm 52 right now. Everything's okay so far. The older I get, the better I was. But when they sequenced my DNA, they saw that there's a high probability that I'm going to get something called AMD, which is age-related macular degeneration, which means your eyesight goes down. And my grandfather had that too in his 60s. And so years ago when I had my DNA sequenced, I went to my doctor, then I went to an eye doctor, and my eyes were fine. But the doctor told me to take, and talk to your doctor first before thinking about this, a relatively benign organic zinc substance called lipotriid visionary. And as a result of taking that, I don't think I'm going to be getting AMD. So you can nip it in the bud early on if you want to. Yeah, so I recommend doing a DNA sequence, especially for newborns. And the pricing point is certainly coming down a lot. Yeah. All right, next question is, what do you think of the following distribution of net worth? 40% real estate, 10% land, 10% the VOO, the ETF I just showed you, 5% cryptos, and 25% bonds. Yeah. I would say a little bit too much real estate. And the way I think about portfolio management in general is how much money you're investing outside of your primary home. And you should always try to buy a home or an apartment as soon as you can. It took me until my 30s until I could afford an apartment in New York, because you will save a fortune. In terms of portfolio allocation in your non-home based fund, I would never have more than 5% in any one given stock. So that means a minimum of 20 stocks in your portfolio. And I say that because you want to have good risk management in place. Now, people like Warren Buffett have 40% of their portfolio in stocks like Apple. He's a sage of Omaha. He's great. I say he's the exception. Now, aside from 5% individual stocks, I also don't recommend having more than 10% or so in any one particular liquid ETF, like the VOO, for example. Also, sector allocation is important. You don't want to have all of your stocks, all of your investments in tech stocks, because they're highly correlated with each other. In terms of crypto allocation, I would never have more than 5% of your liquid net worth in cryptos. And of that 5%, I would never have more than 0.5% in any one particular cryptocurrency. Why? Because most cryptocurrencies are an absolute scam. And even Jamie Dimon, who's the rock star CEO of JP Morgan for several decades, he's publicly disclosed that, how do we know that there's only going to be 21 million maximum Bitcoin by the year 2140? How do we know that? We don't. We don't. So until the SEC regulates cryptocurrencies and forces cryptocurrencies to file S1s like we see with IPOs, like with Facebook's IPO, then I don't recommend having more than 0.5% of your liquid net worth in any one particular cryptocurrency. Now let me touch upon bonds really quickly in your portfolio. So companies can raise money in two different ways. They can either do an IPO, this is an S1, or they can issue debt, meaning a bond. Now, I think that in your portfolio, in everyone's portfolio, we should have some bonds. How much in bonds? Bonds are usually lower risk if they're AAA rated and if you buy U.S. government securities, like United States savings bonds. And the way to tell what percent of your portfolio should be in high-rated bonds, meaning anything above A level, anything below A is usually a junk bond. The way to know is you take your age, minus, you take 100 minus your age. So if you're 75 years old, 100 minus 75 is 25. That means that 25% of your portfolio can be in riskier stocks and 75% in lower risk bonds. If you're 20 years old, then 100 minus 20 is 80. And that means that 80% of your portfolio can be in higher growth, riskier stocks, and maybe 20% in bonds in general. Now that's an old school train of thought because that assumes that people are only going to live to 100 years old. And I think there are people on this webcast that get their DNA sequenced that will live to 150 years old. Yeah. Okay. And if you want to learn more about bonds, I have a teach-in on bonds on my YouTube channel. Just search for bonds. You'll see it's a 30-minute video where I explain bonds from scratch. Yeah. All right. Next question is, how much money do I need to save if I need $100,000 per year? My investments will bring me a 10% return and the average annual inflation will be 4%. What's the formula? Yeah. So all you do is you take $100,000, which is the amount you want per year, divided by the interest rate. So $100,000 divided by 0.1, meaning 10%, is $1 million. So you need $1 million. In terms of adjusting for inflation, if you want, what you can do is you can divide, you can deduct 4% from the denominator if you want to. Yeah. Now, if you want to look at more spreadsheets to calculate how much money you need to save to be a millionaire within 20 years or so, I've got a great source for you. So let's go together to harounmba.com/save. That's all lowercase. Okay. harounmba.com/save. And then you're going to click on this file here, which will open this template. And all you have to do in this template is enter in anything you see in the white boxes to calculate what your net worth will be if you make some spending changes. For example, if I spend $4 per day on coffee, then in 50 years, and we'll use your interest rate, which is 10% return per year, in 50 years, if I make my own coffee, I don't spend $4 per day, I'll have over $2 million in savings. If my spouse did it as well, I'd have over $4 million. And again, you can tweak any of these white boxes here. Next question is this. How much money do I need to save in order to have $1 million in 35 years? Well, it's actually about $10 per day. But let me tweak it to the 10% you had. So it's probably going to be $9.75 per day in 35 years. Actually, a little bit more than that. Play around with these numbers here if you want to. I also have here, how much money would you save if you decide to buy instead of rent? Well, if you paid $600 per month to rent, then in 50 years, at a 9.5% return, you'd have $8.5 million if you didn't rent. Okay, the time value of money is a beautiful thing. Again, what you can do is you can download this spreadsheet from my website, which is harounmba.com/save, all lowercase save. Okay, let me get back to bigger crisp mode. I'll switch to this angle here just to mix it up a bit. Okay. Next question is, if you don't know who you'll meet at a social event, how can you prepare apart from reading the news? Well, what you can do is you can go to LinkedIn and search for the company name, meaning which people you think will be at that social event from that company. Then what you can do is you can scroll down to the bottom of LinkedIn to see who they follow, which executives. So you can spark up a conversation about different businesses or executives or companies. What you can also do is you can then go to X or Instagram to see who they follow. And if they follow baseball players, then what you can do is, and if you're passionate about baseball too, and God bless Willie Mays, who just passed away, but you can talk about baseball, right? So, and sports is great boardroom talk, always, always. And you always want to bond before business, always, always, always. Okay. And then Animals wrote, thanks for spreading your knowledge so generously. My pleasure. Yeah. I didn't get much sleep last night, but I feel okay. All right. Next up, Ray wrote, hey, Chris, you have an incredible talent for making complex subjects easy to understand. Thank you. That's probably because when I was younger, they thought I had a learning disability. They wanted to fail me in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And the best way that I understood was when teachers used props to teach stuff. And I found out I didn't have a learning disability. It killed my confidence that I thought they did. But I just wasn't passionate about what I was doing. So my humble goal is to help all of you find your passion, your purpose, your raison d'être in life when it comes to your career. And when you find your passion, something beautiful happens. You don't have a job, you have a passion. And every day is so much happier for you. And the way to find out what your passion is in life is to do this. Let's pretend that for the next 30 days, you can't go to work, you can't go to school, and you can't travel. What are you going to do with your time? And whatever that is, and I don't care what anybody says, that's your passion, that's your purpose, that's your raison d'être, and that's what you should be doing. And my goal, my humble purpose, is to be your waiter. When you go to a restaurant, you look at the whole menu, but you only order 1 or 2 items. But you look at the whole menu. So I'm your waiter, and I expose you to all types of careers in all of my courses, MBA programs, etc. And I help you find your passion. All right. Question is, what is one personal growth habit that you believe has had the greatest impact on your professional success? There's a number of them. I can't really say one thing. What's really important is that you write a schedule for every single day, every weekday, not on weekends. Because if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. And there's a reason why when we go on vacation, for some reason, we don't have time to exercise. Write down all your daily goals as well on this. Stay busy. And that's what I always do. And this template is available in the first lecture of my MBA degree program as well. Another thing that's humbly helped me is, 1 day per week, I take a day off. And in many great religions, you either take off Saturday, Sunday, or Friday. And, for thousands of years, our forefathers have known that you can burn out, which has happened to me many times. You have to take 1 day off per week. And if you don't, you won't be nearly as successful and your health will deteriorate as well. I promise you. Yeah. Aside from that, I biohack a lot, as many of you know. I try to consume this much water every day. I don't usually get there, but I set my goals high. Every Sunday, I also create a greatest hits of antioxidants. In this, I create 7 of these every Sunday, which has kale in it and every antioxidant you can think of. I'll tell you what's in it if you want me to tell you as well. What I also do from a biohack perspective is I drink, and I'm sure some of the stuff I do is a placebo, but I drink what's called bulletproof coffee. And what's in bulletproof coffee is 1 tablespoon of grass-fed butter. I don't put milk or cream in, so it tastes like there's cream in it. And people have been putting a tablespoon of butter in their tea or coffee for hundreds of years. And it gives you this incredible cerebral intensity to be able to accomplish more and speak much gooder and stuff. Yeah. I also take a lot of multivitamins as well. And earlier I mentioned about my DNA sequencing. I take certain supplements that can plug gaps that I have health-wise. And what you always want to do is you want to analyze, what illnesses your parents had or your aunts or uncles or grandparents, because there's a good chance you can get that. And you can be proactive with vitamins, exercise, etc., so you don't get those diseases later in life. So for me, for example, I have very high cholesterol, even though my diet is very good. It's genetic, nothing I can do about it. So my doctor prescribed to me something called simvastatin, which helps me with cholesterol. The one last tip I want to provide you all with, which I really think can increase your productivity by 10x every single day, is this. So when I was younger, and I would study. The first hour of study for me every morning I accomplished a lot. And then at night, I'd cram for 10 hours, and I wasn't as productive as the 1 hour in the morning. And I realized that the reason that that occurs is because my mind is fresh. And so one biohack, one way to stay fresh all day long is to put a treadmill underneath your desk. And what I do is I get close to 30,000 steps every single day. And I've got one of these stand-up desks that goes up and down as well in case I want to type. And I go about 6 miles per hour all day long. And I can get just a ton of work done. So this here is, I'll put it on 4 miles per hour right here. And I get a lot of work done, and I can type. Now, my Apple Watch is in my pocket so that my steps are counted, because if your hands are here on the table, it won't count your steps. And this helps tremendously, I promise you. Now, this treadmill I have below my desk is $210. It's cheap because there's no side rails to it. And I can provide you the link on Amazon if you want me to. Other tips to stay happier, and this is ridiculous, but we all need vitamin D. You know, if you work in an office where there's no windows, you might get depressed. So another thing keeps me going, and when you're happy, you're more productive, is I actually I installed. I've got a bunch of windows here in this big studio, but I installed this. It's like $80 or something from Amazon, and this allows me to get vitamin D. Okay. What you also can do is you can mask vitamin D as well. I use a product up here called Morocco. It's $60 on Amazon, which it's not perfect vitamin D, but there is some light to it as well. And that's why when you're younger, remember your mom would always turn on the lights when you're watching television and it was dark. Okay. Holy, you're thinking, Chris, I asked you a yes or no question. You gave me a whole encyclopedia. Okay. All right, next up, Ray wrote, how often do you think one should post on LinkedIn to position himself as a leader in his industry? I would do once per week. Once per week, yeah. And don't give up. And it's going to feel like you're screaming into the wind at first, because not many people are viewing or liking or whatever your posts. But keep it up, because I promise you your competition will give up pretty quickly. But I want you to do once per week and be consistent. Then what you can do is what I did, is I took all the articles I wrote over a 2-year period, and I put it together in this book. And I sorted the book by the articles that got the most views or likes or comments, etc. And I repurposed all this content. And that's what Nintendo's been doing for, a gazillion years. Nintendo's the oldest tech company in history. What Nintendo's been doing is they've been repurposing their content as well. Their older 8, 16, 64-bit games, they repurposed on newer platforms, so it costs them nothing. And so you always have to think about repurposing your content as well. So what I do with this weekly call is the 7 best questions that are asked. My contractors will create vlogs for it as well, micro content. And what I'll also do is I have my contractors setting up TikToks as well. Follow me on TikTok if you want. Based on my billions of vlogs I release every single week. So be consistent with your LinkedIn articles that you write. Do it every week at the exact same time. Yeah. And if you want to take all that content you've created and put it into a book, you can self-publish. Like I self-published this book. Anybody can do it. I'm going to give you my template for that as well. All right. So to get the template, you go to harounmba.com. And I don't ask for your email or anything. And then you type in write book, all lowercase right here. And here it is. All you have to do is use Microsoft Word and a browser, and that's it. You fill out the entire template. Then you right-click on the table of contents to repaginate. And there's one page of instructions right here. This will tell you how to put the book in Kindle format. This is in paper format, like the version I showed you. And this here is ACX, which is Audible. Then if you want to spend some money, go to Fiverr and tip Ultracon22 $20 to make a cover for you. And Ultracon22 has been working with me for years. She's based in Bangladesh. She's great. Then when you go to your informational meetings or interviews, what you can do is you can give people your book. And if you think that's too much work, then I ask you this, and I say this with love in my heart. How badly do you want that job or that customer, whatever it is? And we all know that one meeting can certainly change your life. Yeah. All right. All right, next up. Prashant, how are you? Prashant wrote, hope all's well. I sent an email this afternoon. Hope you've seen it. Yeah. I can't open every email. I'm so sorry. The best way to reach me is always during these office hours, but God bless you. I missed you. So Prashant wrote, how do you calculate the total addressable market for a product in the small and medium sector when it's difficult to find financial statements for the top 3 companies? Yeah, that's a great question. So I never recommend starting a company unless it's in a massive market. And we refer to that as something called the TAM, or total addressable market. In fact, Kleiner Perkins, which is a venture capital firm I partnered with in the past, they usually don't invest in companies unless the size of the total addressable market isn't at least $20 billion. And the reason why that's relevant, $20 billion, is because in the unlikely event that a company gets 5% share of a $20 billion market, then that means $1 billion in revenue per year, meaning it's a unicorn. So the best way to calculate the TAM is as follows. Number 1, do a search for total addressable market and McKinsey. Okay, McKinsey is the best consulting firm in history, and you might find reports from McKinsey. If you can't find it from McKinsey, and if it's a tech company, you can do total addressable market and then put Gartner or Forrester, which are technology research companies. If you still can't find the total addressable market, then what you can do is you can get the top 25 companies in the world in that market. Then what you can do is go to the annual report for all 25 companies and add up the revenue. And that's a good enough proxy because usually it's not 25 companies, but a handful of companies that dominate an industry. And if you have follow-up questions, please let me know. Thank you. Now, when you're doing investment research on a company, I always recommend not just looking at the TAM, which is up here, but also look at the growth of the market, market share, the quality of the management team, etc. And this here is an example of Ice Juice, okay, which is a company I did due diligence on, Pretend Company, which is the subject of my vlog tomorrow. You want to look at the qualitative metrics, 100 steps for analyzing any company, quantitative, and then financials. Okay, and I teach, and this is available in my MBA program for my students for free. But I teach you how to create financial statements for any company and then value companies using many different valuation methodologies. And then what comes out of this are 3 things. Number 1, you've got a 1-page report. You've also got number 2, a detailed report. And then number 3, or 3, as my son Andrew used to say, you've got a dashboard based on what you entered in. Okay. And that will help you do investment research. And I don't recommend ever investing in companies unless you do your research first. Otherwise, just buy ETFs. And never rely on anybody, including me, in terms of what stocks to buy. Always do your own research because nobody is smarter than you. And if you don't do your own research on companies before investing, then you might do something foolish, which we've all done, which is this. When the stock goes down, you might sell it. And Warren Buffett said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. There's a lot of psychology involved with investing. Okay. All right, next up, Prashant wrote, can you suggest a book to read on window dressing in accounting? Yeah. So window dressing in general refers to portfolio managers at big funds like Fidelity, etc., buying certain stocks at the end of the quarter so that when they file their 13F on a quarterly basis on sec.gov, so when they file their quarterly report of holdings called the 13F, then it will look like they own all those shares. And what happens is a lot of hedge funds will do that. And by law, if you manage over $100 million, you have to file a 13F to let the whole world know what stocks you own. But what some hedge funds will do is they'll participate in a hot IPO like Ice Juice. Then they'll sell their shares on day 1 after the IPO. Then in the last day of the quarter, they'll buy back a lot more shares so that when they file their 13F from a window dressing perspective, it'll look like they still own that stock. Why do they still want to own that stock? So that they get more shares in the next hot IPO. Investment bankers will not give you shares in an IPO if you flip it, meaning you sell it quickly. Yeah. Now, in terms of other accounting issues, I'm creating a forensic accounting course with Gary, one of my amazing students. They'll be released later this year. And if you want to read a book right now that will help you with window dressing and accounting issues, there's a great book written by Howard Shillett, who headed up CIFRA. I was his client for years in the hedge fund industry. And Howard Shillett's book is called Financial Shenanigans. Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second here. Adiposi, how are you? Great to see you. Adiposi is one of my former Platinum MBA students from Nigeria. He and his wife created an amazing handbags company called CEO, which actually is the initials of his wonderful wife as well. Great to see you. Next up, we have Shahar. Great to see you, buddy. Shahar is in my current MBA program that launched on May 6th. Great to see you, as is Matteo, who's a gold member. Matteo is 26, I think, based in Italy. Great to see you. And the average life expectancy today is 26 years longer than it was in the 1950s. So whatever age you are, deduct 26. I'm 52, so I'm now the same age as Matteo. Good to see you. And my wife, Christine, and her mother are in Rome right now on a mother-daughter vacation. Yeah. Okay. And then Jerome, I'm going to have to do more research on that. Ask me again next week. Thank you. Next up, Hisham, how are you? Hisham was one of my students when I used to teach during the evenings in the Bay Area. So Hisham sat front row right when I taught you undergrad finance at SF State. Great to see you. And Hisham went on to get a job actually at Amazon. And he actually graduated from my MBA program last year. Great to see you. So Hisham wrote, good morning, Chris. Good morning. What CRM would you recommend? I'm using HubSpot right now. Yeah, so what I use is Go High Level. And the reason I use Go High Level is I can take notes after meetings with prospects. And then what can happen is I can put them in different email distribution channels to get nurtured. Yeah, so I use Go High Level, which is great. I also use Active Campaign, but I don't like it as much. It's kind of complicated for me. Moving on to Thomas. Hey, Thomas wrote, what's the best way to value SMB, meaning small and medium-sized businesses with EBITDA / SDE from 250K to 500 million for acquisition? Are the principles used for public companies accurate? What key differences and methods should we continue? Yeah, this is a great question. So when you value companies, there's three main methodologies that I use, right? So I use price to earnings, price to revenue, and DCF. So I would value companies using several different methodologies. Then what you can do is when you have the target price for using three different methodologies, then what you can do is you can take the average to that target price right here. And the reason why you want to use multiple methodologies is because one of your methodologies will be wrong, and we don't know which one it is, but this will kind of minimize or normalize the error. Now, what you're talking about with EBITDA multiples is a form of PE, right? So I would actually, instead of looking at an EBITDA multiple, what I would do is I would forecast your financial statements, okay, using cash accounting. And what that means is you create what are called pro forma financial statements. And what that means is you're going to forecast your financial statements, particularly your income statement, without including non-cash stuff like depreciation, etc. And every company that reports earnings, or most of them, they release two sets of financial statements. Always focus on the pro forma because that's basically cash in, cash out. And I'll show you a very quick example of that. So let's go together to sec.gov. And this is where the Securities and Exchange Commission makes you file your reports. So Oracle, great database software company, what they do, and by the way, an 8K means an earnings press release. They release two sets of financials always. So what they do is they release GAAP and non-GAAP financial statements. Okay, so non-GAAP earnings are always higher than GAAP earnings because they don't include non-cash crap. And I'll show you what that means. So if we go down here, and they usually reconcile GAAP, meaning what accountants love, to non-GAAP, meaning what finance people love. What they'll do is they'll adjust by deducting non-cash stuff like amortization, as well as stock-based compensation, to get to the non-GAAP EPS number. And if you want me to provide more details on that, please let me know. Thanks. It's very hard, though, to forecast financial statements for private companies because they don't have to, by law, file their financials. So what you can do is you can get companies that are similar to the private company that are publicly traded and use that as your proxy when you're building your financial statements. Pay particular close attention to the total addressable market too, because when you're forecasting the revenue for that company, you don't want to get carried away and make your revenue forecast greater than the total addressable market. Yeah. Okay, next up, Adiposi from Nigeria wrote, Charlie Munger, God bless him, said to save up to $100,000 as a starting point to wealth building, then you can ease off. What do you think about that? I think that's kind of old school. I certainly respect him, but $100,000 is really not that much to think about in terms of a nest egg. What I would do is earlier in this webcast, I provide you with a spreadsheet, which you can download at harounmba.com/save, all lowercase, save, and plug in your numbers there to figure out how much money you need to save on a daily, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis in order to live comfortably when you retire. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Manas from India wrote, good morning. How are you? What a wonderful day it is. I have big news for you today and all the Haroun Education Ventures family that couldn't have been possible without y'all. You wrote, so this week I got to know that I had a first best-selling course that is mid-journey. Oh man, it took a lot of time, but we did it big time. Thank you for everything to all of you forever. Congratulations. And Manas has many AI courses on Udemy as well. Congratulations. Very happy for you. And I still have your first book here in my office, which is called Bonds Before Business. Yeah. One thing I do worry about, though, when it comes to mid-journey is when iOS 18 is officially released, you might not really need to use mid-journey very much for generating images. And I downloaded the beta of iOS 18 here. It doesn't really have any AI products in it yet. And for Apple, AI stands for Apple Intelligence. But what it does have is a cool feature with eye tracking. So I can look around and then stop looking and look at an icon. It'll automatically open that icon. It's still in beta though. Yeah. And I think Apple's got the right approach to AI. They're doing it slowly and they're putting privacy first. And a lot of people certainly trust the Apple brand versus others. All right. Next up, Caroline, who's from France but lives in Canada. One of my silver students wrote, good morning, Chris. Fisker has officially filed for bankruptcy. Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah. Now, when a company files for bankruptcy, so the bankruptcy courts were set up in the United States in 1979. There's 300 bankruptcy courts across the country. And close to 75% of companies that file bankruptcy, they come out much better than ever after they're done with bankruptcy. Now, bankruptcy code has many chapters. So chapter 11 is when a company files bankruptcy. And what that means is you have a force field for 4 months, nobody can touch you. And you consolidate your debt and get better terms. And I hope Fisker makes it, man, because competition is a good thing for the consumer. Okay. And then Low Key Beams wrote, 150 years old, question mark. Yeah. I really do believe there are people on this call that will live that long. I mean, think about how how people still work in their late 90s, like Warren Buffett, etc. And there's a lot of people in their hundreds that are completely with it. And if the average life expectancy increased 26 years since the 1950s, it can easily go up to 150 within our lifetime. I think it's going to happen. And I see a ton of money going into biotech investments here in the Bay Area and South San Francisco. A lot of it in life extension. Okay, let me turn off the AC here. All right, next up, Manas wrote, Nvidia made history as the highest market cap ever. What a journey of 31 years. Why is AMD lacking behind? And will they be the next alpha? Yeah. So I always love investing in companies where the founder is still running the company, which is what we have with Jensen Huang at Nvidia. Once a founder leaves a company, it kind of loses market share and can't be that competitive when it comes to new product introductions. AMD is still doing well, but I'm a bigger fan of companies where the CEO founder is still running the firm. Yeah. And I wrote an article on this in VentureBeat years ago. You can do a search for that if you want. All right. All right, Mohammed, how are you? Mohammed wrote, hi, Chris and team. Can you please elaborate on the inflation rate announced publicly? What could be the real inflation impact in our future? Yeah. So the way inflation is calculated by governments is they look at a basket of different products, including oil, food, etc., to see how much it increases or decreases in price. And when inflation goes up a lot, the governments around the world want to control the economy by cooling the economy down by increasing interest rates. Now, when the government increases interest rates, what they also measure closely is unemployment. And one of the conundrums we've seen with the U.S. economy in the past couple of years is, despite the fact that the U.S. government raised interest rates, unemployment rates didn't raise that much. And the reason is because 100,000 baby boomers retire every single week. And so they're taken out of the workforce. And so that kind of skews or messes up how we calculate unemployment, because unemployment is calculated based on people that are looking for work. But I think we're having a soft landing right now. I'm feeling pretty good about the global economy. Yeah. Okay. And I really think that the most deflationary thing we have out there today is AI. And I'm so bullish on AI that I think the average return of the S&P 500 over the next 20 years is going to be between 15 and 20%. The S&P will not be up every year, I promise you. But on average, I think it'll be up 15 to 20%. And the reason I say that is because a lot of companies in the S&P are materially cutting expenses and will be cutting more expenses by using AI. And eventually they're going to focus on using AI to grow their top line, meaning revenue as well. But that makes me really bullish on the markets in general. And that's incredibly deflationary. It's as deflationary from a labor cost perspective as the fall of the Berlin Wall. When the Berlin Wall fell around 1990, you had tons of cheaper and brilliant Eastern European labor moving west. And that kept prices in check. And that's why we had an incredible decade stock market-wise back in the 1990s. I think today's Berlin teardown economic event that's going to help the markets is AI. All right. All right, next question. Speaking of AI, Manas wrote, where do you see AI going in the next decade and year? Because if the best AI companies do not innovate, someone else, where do you see the breakthrough coming and in which sector? Yeah, I think it's all sectors in general. Now, what companies are really focused on right now is leveraging AI to cut expenses. But companies have not really focused yet on leveraging AI to grow revenue. And from a social media perspective, and this is crucial for everybody in this call, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you all have to start vlogging, making TikToks, if TikTok's still around a year, Instagram videos, etc., as fast as you can before we are replaced with AI. What do I mean by that? Well, I think in 5 or 10 years, we're going to have something called AGI become a reality, which is next level AI. And by the time that takes place, there's going to be tons of AI-generated avatars and actors and teachers even, and social media icons that'll be created. You know, I think in the future, what's going to happen is with Hollywood movies, they won't pay a lot of money to hire Leonardo DiCaprio and others. There'll be AI-generated characters. What does that mean for us? And why should we create more social media stuff today as fast as we all can? Well, I think in 5 or 10 years, a lot of people will be following AI avatars on different social media platforms, and there'll be AI teachers as well. So that means that we all have between 5 and 10 years starting right now to establish ourselves as a brand and start vlogging, making courses, creating articles on LinkedIn, etc. Now, in terms of what am I doing with AI to disrupt myself? And I always try to disrupt myself. I think that's the smartest thing you can possibly do as a business executive. For example, Reed Hastings, who's a brilliant founder and CEO of Netflix. He disrupted his own business model years ago when he stopped shipping DVDs and started allowing people to stream videos. So what I'm doing is, well, first of all, from an expense perspective, I have a lot of AI technologies in place, including chatbots, that cut my expenses next to nothing. In terms of revenue and disrupting myself, I signed up with a high-profile Bay Area company, and I can't disclose what it is, to make an avatar version of myself as well, to disrupt myself as well. And as the beta tests come out and they contacted me, we did our first call about 2 months ago, I'll let you all know when I can publicly disclose it. Yeah. But eventually, if you establish your own brand, your own AI brand, and you create YouTube videos like I do, and I'm nothing compared to the bigger people out there. But what will happen is longer term, not only will you make advertising revenue on your YouTube channel or whatever, but more importantly, you'll be able to license your AI. I'll be able to license this if anybody wants somebody with awful dad humor to teach. Yeah. All right. All right. But don't fear AI. Embrace it. We always adapt. I remember back in the 1990s, everybody was worried about just-in-time robotics from Japanese companies, and we'd all be out of a job. We adapted. In 1999, when Google was in beta, a lot of professors were worried that, oh my God, you're not going to do research anymore. Google will do it for you. We adapted. The same naysayers in late 2001 when Wikipedia came out said, oh my God, what's the point of going to school? You can just do research on Wikipedia. And those same Luddites are saying the exact same thing right now when it comes to AI. Embrace this stuff. Use it as your secret weapon. Yeah. And in my MBA degree program, I have a number of different AI electives that you can all access for free. Let me show you how to access that really quickly. So if you go to learn.harounventures.com, you can sign up for my MBA programs. If you want to join my Diamond Accelerator, you can click here to set up a call with me. But these are the electives, mini electives, including AI electives that are included for free for my MBA degree students as well. And every year I add tons of new electives that all my MBA students will get for free forever. One elective I'm working very hard on right now is this fall. I plan on releasing a real estate elective exclusive to my MBA students. Yeah. And that might be the best investment you can do is your own house. That's how we say house in Canada. It's not house, Americans, it's house. Okay. Next up, this week I discovered a crypto project, which is world first crypto hedge fund called Numer. And it works when a lot of data scientists submit algorithms and best own wins get rewards. The problem is compute is expensive and reward is small. Yeah, it's only a matter of time till AI companies or crypto companies start really embracing AI as well from a mining perspective. In fact, mining might be a thing of the past once we figure out how to do it with AI algorithms. Yeah. And Jensen Huang, who's the CEO founder of Nvidia, he said something really controversial recently. He said he doesn't think that students should study computer science anymore. And he said that because AI, the best utilization of AI is to write code. And for anybody out there that uses Excel, Python, whatever it is, you can always go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to write lines of code for you or to help you or use Microsoft's Copilot product, especially when it comes to Excel formulas. Just ask ChatGPT and save yourself time. So Jensen Huang recommends that instead of studying technology or computer science in undergrad, he recommends liberal arts. And he thinks that the American education system is going to surpass other countries because in the United States, unlike other countries, this is his opinion, but in the United States, you don't declare a major until like the third year of university. And so you study liberal arts first. And Steve Jobs, God bless him, used to always say that Apple was at the intersection of technology and the liberal arts. And if you study liberal arts as well, it might help you to think differently as well as you approach problems. Okay. Oh, wow. Manos wrote that Numer AI crypto process is supported by Renaissance Technology and Paul Tudor Jones, two great hedge funds. Jim Simmons, who founded Renaissance, passed away a couple months ago. And Jim Simmons uses AI in his hedge fund, and he's used AI and machine learning since the 1980s. And his fund, Renaissance Technologies, has generated an average gross adjusted return every year since the 1980s of 60%. He's a mathematician, and Renaissance hires mathematicians, not finance people. Yeah, and he used to work at the NSA. Okay, next up, Jeffrey wrote, hi, Haroun. Hey, what's up? And if anybody's confused about how to pronounce my last name, it rhymes with baboon. Now you'll never forget. So Jeffrey wrote, hey, Haroun, what is your perspective of technical analysis as a form of investment technique? Yeah, so I think that technical analysis is the very last thing you look at, okay? Focus primarily on fundamentals, okay? Then including the management team, barriers to entry, etc. Then quantitative analysis, meaning your financial model. And then lastly, look at technical analysis. Don't make that the primary reason why you invest, because day trading does not work. And I say it with love in my heart, because a lot of my students want to be day traders. It doesn't work. How do I know? we can't name a single day trader that's been very successful in the long run. What happens is stocks go up and down in a short amount of time every month because of random events. So each month has 20 weekdays, meaning 20 days that the equity markets are open. And stocks will go up and down a lot because of stuff you can't control, like economic data points on inflation, saber-rattling between, China and the US or other countries. Or stocks might go up or down a lot based on what other companies reported for earnings. And so you got to be long-term focused. And when Warren Buffett buys stocks, he assumes that the stock markets can be closed for 10 years. For example, he bought Coca-Cola decades ago, and he's an owner of it. He's not a trader of it. He's very long-term focused. And what I always recommend doing is try to shoot for 5x5s, meaning stocks you think have a 500% return in 5 years. Even if you're wrong after you're doing research, you'll still make a killing. Now, if we take a look here at the chart of the S&P 500, okay, let's just go back. Yeah, that's good enough. Actually, let's go back. Yeah, that's good. All right. Now, if you look here at all the little volatility, peaks and troughs, peaks and troughs, peaks and troughs, you can drive yourself crazy trying to trade around this. But you got to tell yourself this: I don't know the path, but I know the destination. And most people sold here. They really freaked out. It was down here actually during COVID, right? Everybody freaked out here. You got to be a contrarian and buy more when everyone's freaking out. The longer the view, the wiser the intention. Be a long-term investor. Please ignore the volatility. You'll sleep better at night as well. And that's why a lot of people do incredibly well with their 401k, meaning their retirement savings program, because they put money in it and they just let it sit there for ages, right? Because they're like, well, I'm not going to use that money today. I'll use it in like 20 years. And then they wake up one day and they're like, oh my God, look how much higher it is. In fact, if all you did in your 401k is you put $20,000 every year, which is a lot of money, but if you put $20,000 every year into the S&P 500, you would have over $1 million in 20 years. If your spouse did it, you'd have over $2 million in 20 years. If you maxed out your kids' educational savings accounts as part of your retirement savings, then for each kid in 18 years, you'd have $700,000. So that's 2.1 million plus the 2 million you've saved, you and your spouse, by maxing out your 401k. And that doesn't, and of course you can't do it every year. I get it. Times are tough for a lot of us. But that doesn't even include your non-401k investments, and that doesn't even include the appreciation you're going to get by buying your house. And again, I've got a very comprehensive real estate elective coming out exclusively to my MBA students this fall. Damn, I got to get it done now. And that's what I love doing is throwing out a goal and setting a deadline date. And I recommend other people do that too. For example, I want to get a couple people on this call right now to commit to me a deadline date when you're going to publish your book. At least 2 people. Let me know so I can ask you about it every week. And that's what I did with my book years ago. And remember, my family would always say, how's that book coming along? Yeah. All right. All right, next up, Nintendo. How are you? And you spelled your name differently than Nintendo does. And I remember when the when the Switch came out years ago, my kids wanted to get it, and I wanted to buy it for them as well. But I couldn't find it except on eBay. So what I did on eBay was I searched for Nintendo Switch, but I spelt it wrong. I spelt it Nintendo. And I was able to buy it at cost because somebody made a typo. And I used to do that as well on eBay, searching for Wayne Gretzky rookie cards, but I spelled Gretzky wrong on purpose. Now everybody knows. You can all do it. That's called game theory. Okay. So Nintendo wrote, I've started learning Python using a course, a free course from Harvard. Do you have any other resources to recommend? Any tips how to get a job in the future as a self-taught coder? Yeah, absolutely. So I have, as part of my MBA degree program, one of the free electives that my students that sign up get to take is a course on Python. Okay, and I taught it with Luca Anison. I'm going to his wedding this September, actually, in Serbia. Great guy. But you can access that within my course if you want to. In terms of putting yourself on the map and getting a job as a programmer, What I recommend doing is I recommend creating your own portfolio of your own Python code or whatever it might be, and throw it on your own website, which you can set up for next to nothing using WordPress or pay a little bit of a fee using Squarespace, which is what I do. Then what you can do is you can drop a link to that on your LinkedIn profile. And you can also go to upwork.com and start selling services that way and undercut the competition from a pricing perspective initially, just so you get a handful of reviews. Yeah. But really, the best way to get a job in any industry is to network like crazy. And I'll give my networking book away for you guys if you want it. So every time and I'll tell you how to get it in a second, but every time you see a job opening online, you have a 1 in 250 chance of getting that job. And the person that gets the job ultimately knows somebody at the company. So what I want you to do is aggressively network and meet with 30, 40, or 50 people at each company you want to work at. Yes, it's a lot of work, but I promise you it works well. So step 1 is create an amazing LinkedIn profile. Step 2 is network like crazy. And if you're in one of my MBA programs, you learn how to create your LinkedIn profile from scratch. And if you sign up for my Diamond Accelerator program, I actually do it for you, and I give you 20 hours of one-on-one coaching. Now, to get a copy of this book for free, what you can do is go to my website, which is harounmba.com. So let me go there with you. And then if you scroll to the bottom, you can get it for free right here. Yeah. Okay. Go back to Big Chris mode. Okay. All right. Next up, Manas from India wrote, why does good innovation come from? Yeah. I don't understand the question, but I'll read it again. Why some really good innovation comes from joke like Apple and Airbnb and Netflix and Crocs. So why is that when your focus is on product and customers, rest follow? Yeah. So a lot of companies, what they'll do is they'll do a ton of market research and then design a product that way. But companies like Apple, Airbnb, and I guess Crocs develop what they think the market likes. I think that's what you're getting at. Yeah. And that's something that Steve Jobs pioneered. Now, since Steve Jobs passed away, Apple really hasn't done anything successful from a groundbreaking innovation perspective. Even the Vision Pro, which I have, which is collecting dust, it's a loser product at this point. There's no killer app for it. But what I will say is the 5,000 patents that Apple filed when they created the Vision Pro, a lot of those patents are used in iOS 18 in terms of eye tracking. Yeah, which is not perfect yet. It gave me a bit of a headache trying it out. All right, next up, Manas wrote, thank you for everything. God bless your family forever and ever and ever. See you soon in your office. Good, thank you. And God bless you. And thank you for all those wonderful emojis as well. God bless you. Namaste. And then Manas wrote, do you think the TikTok ban will be serious and not be acquired? I don't know. I mean, ideally, an American entrepreneur would buy it, and then Congress would just be quiet about all this stuff. But I don't know. At this point, I'm not a legal expert, but I say it's 50-50. Yeah. And it'd be a shame if it's banned because I enjoy using it. I watch comedians all the time, Dave Chappelle stuff, and I actually use TikTok more than I use other social media platforms. And subscribe to me if you guys want on my TikTok account. And the way to access my TikTok account, let me do this real quick, is if you go to my homepage, right up here, you can click here on TikTok, and then follow me on TikTok as well. Yeah. And you'll see that a bunch of these are from this weekly call, right? Just repurposed stuff. Yeah. And this is Nicholas Taleb, who's best author ever. Okay, and then I've got Skin Bell here. How are you? It's Marin Koros, who wrote, good afternoon. Hope you and all yours are well. Thank you, and God bless you. And Marin actually is one of my amazing students, originally from Kenya. She now lives in the United Kingdom. And I'm going to meet her for the first time this October in Kenya, where we're building a school for girls in honor of her mother. It will be called the Leah Moro's school for girls. Yeah, and it's a 6-hour drive from the Nairobi airport. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you, and thank you for partnering with me on this. Yeah. All right. Next up, Robert's family wrote, can you drop the link for that Write That book? That was too fast. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll slow down. I get excited sometimes. Okay. So in order to download that book template, you go to harounmba.com and then you type Write Book. So remember this, harounmba.com, all lowercase, Write Book. Yeah. And for the template I mentioned earlier, that Excel template, the exact same website, harounmba.com/save. And you can download that Excel template here. Yeah, and if I'm talking too fast or if the quality of this call is not up to standards for everybody here, let me know, please. You're all the customers. I want to humbly help in any way I can, including my delivery. And for those of you that want to start creating social media content, you're going to get criticized. But the best way to deal with it is this, and you can always block people that are really mean. There's a lot of mean people out there. The best way to deal with criticism in your life is this. When somebody criticizes you, I want you to think to yourself this. Unjustified criticism is a disguised compliment. I have to say that again. Unjustified criticism is a disguised compliment. And so when somebody criticizes you unfairly, I want you to take it as a compliment and think to yourself, gosh, I feel sorry for them because they're so insecure. Yeah. Okay. Next up, but you're going to get criticized online. I promise you it'll happen. Just ignore it. And you'll get to a point where you won't even read the comments. Yeah. Quick side note. I got to go there. I want you all to create online courses. Because when one teaches, two learn. And because I think that education solves every problem in the world. And I've created humbly a massive side hustle doing this. And for those of you that want to teach business or finance or personal development courses, I want you to go to Udemy and find my courses on those topics. Then I want you to look at the 1-star reviews that I have on those courses, of which there's many. I have like 70 courses and tons of 1-star reviews. And I want you to read those 1-star reviews and make a better version of the course than I did. That's called educational Darwinism, and everybody wins, the student. That's what we're here for, is to add value. We're here to serve others. Okay, next up, Nassim. Nassim Taleb is one of my favorite authors as well. And for those of you that haven't read stuff by Nassim Taleb, start with The Black Swan. It's a great book, and then read Fooled by Randomness. Yeah. But Nassim wrote here, good to see you. Good to see you too. Can you please show us how to use AI tools in your daily workflow? What's your opinion about tools like ChatGPT for work? Any advice on that? Yeah. So don't ever use any AI product at work unless your company lets you. Because a lot of companies are really uptight when it comes to security and privacy. In terms of how I use ChatGPT in my company, so there's a lot of companies that make apps or services that are based on the ChatGPT platform, right? The best investments ever are platforms you own the road, you can charge the cars. So on the ChatGPT platform, the OpenAI platform, I'll show you one product I use here. So if we go to, all right, let's go to all my courses. So down here, I've got a chat bot, okay? And if you click here, you can ask questions. And I've trained, and when you use AI products, they're based on a large language model. And so this large language model, it's based on ChatGPT, but it's powered by Chatbase. And I'm going to show you behind the scenes how I set this up in a second. It's real easy. But we can type something like, I don't know, what is an income statement? And this is all based on 11 million characters of my closed captions for my courses. And you'll see that it sounds like me as well. It's got really bad dad humor. But let me go here and show you how I set this up. So this here is called chatbase.io. And it's really easy to do. I last trained it on December 19th. I mean, that's when I uploaded all the closed caption stuff. And it costs $20 a month, which is the going rate for every single app based on ChatGPT. And so in terms of the sources, there's a bunch of stuff in it. I've got, from my MBA program, a bunch of closed caption files I've uploaded, a couple thousand of them. And what I also have is a bunch of text here based on what questions people might ask. And then a bunch of website links that it crawls as well. Now, in terms of how to connect it, it's really easy. All you do is you copy this here, and then you just insert it on your website. It's simple. So with Squarespace, WordPress, and Wix, and all the amazing web hosting companies or website companies, you can go insert code, and you just copy and paste this. It's that easy. Then I've trained it. I said 11 million characters. I meant to say 10 million. But it's trained based on this, and then you can set up what's called temperature. So if I do temperature over here to 1, it's more artistic, and 0 is more specific. I want more specific because it's not perfect. And then you can set up how you want it to look as well, the interface here, etc. Yeah. And if you have additional questions on that, please let me know. Thank you. Okay. All right, next up, Priscilla wrote, if someone is 45 years old now with no house, savings, any real investment with a family, but doing a Master of Science, what would be your advice with a goal of 4 financial freedom goals or in 5 to 10 years? Oh, I think you meant 4 as an FOR. Yeah. A couple things. It's never too late to start. So what I would do is this. I would have as much money as you can possibly have taken out of your paycheck every 2 weeks and put it into your 401k or retirement savings program if you're not in the United States. I would max out your 401k every year, which is just over 20K. And then what I would do is I'd probably, if you don't have time, I'd probably put it into the VU after you do your research, okay? Because my humble opinion is I think the S&P 500 will be up between 15 and 20% every year on average for the next couple of decades because of AI. So that means if you save 20K every single year for 20 years at that return, you might have a couple $1,000,000 in 20 years, right? So if you're 45 now, that means by the time you're 65, you'll have a couple $1,000,000 saved up. Yeah. And I wouldn't retire at 65, and don't ever think about retiring because I think you got to find what you're most passionate about in life. And if you find what you're most passionate about, you'll never retire, and you'll love every day like I do right now, teaching. What I would also do is I would look to see if you can buy a house. And I know it's hard to do. But if you look at that spreadsheet that I introduced you to earlier on, let me show you really quickly, show you how much money you're going to save and be worth if you buy your house. Buy your house as fast as you can. You can download this spreadsheet from harounmba.com/save, all lowercase. But if you go down here, you'll see that if you decided to, let's say you rent for $1,000 a month right now, okay? So if you rented and you paid $1,000 a month right now, instead, and you buy instead of rent, then in 20 years you have saved up a fortune. Yeah. So anyway, and you can play around with these numbers as well. If you make it 50 years, it's a hell of a lot more, right? You'd actually be worth $14 million if you actually bought your own house instead of rented. And you can tweak this by just entering in all your assumptions in the white cells here. Again, download it from harounmba.com/save. Yeah. Okay, and let me see if I can give you more advice about savings. Yeah, go through that entire spreadsheet I just mentioned. There's 5 exercises in that spreadsheet that will really impress upon you how much you can be worth if you save. Little things like make your own coffee every day at home can save you a few $1,000,000 in your lifetime. Yeah. And if you want, Priscilla, you could look at starting a side hustle as well. And you can join my MBA program if you want, where I put you through a venture capital boot camp as part of the agenda of the curriculum. And I teach you how to start your own company with no money down. Okay, next up we have Paul, who wrote, "Hey Chris, hey, I'm happy that you shared your 100-step research on buying your book. Thank you. Oh, the book you're talking about. So McGraw-Hill just they published my book called Finance Essentials. For me, I can't read smaller print anymore, so I think the Kindle works best for some people, to be honest. Yeah. You wrote, thanks for sharing how big firms do research. You wrote, can a template be used for business planning and financial statements? Probably not. I think that the best template to use for business planning and financial statements is a template I have in the Venture Capital Bootcamp as part of my MBA degree program. And for those of you who register for my MBA, just go to E31. That's Entrepreneurship Semester 3, Class 1 to get that template. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have Jonathan who wrote here. Give me one second, guys. Okay. Next up, we have Jonathan who wrote, hey, Chris, I'm writing this to say you're absolutely amazing. Thank you. And to pass along the good word to you. You inspire me more than you know. I admire your morality. Thank you. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you, and God bless you more, brother. Thank you. And we're all here to serve others. And, for those of you that sell a product or a service, really think about it enhancing the lives of your customers. Yeah. And if you're not enhancing the lives of your customers, then the best way to enhance people's lives is to teach. And anybody can teach online. Let me know if you guys want me to. I can give you advice on how to teach online. You already have everything you need to build something far bigger than yourself. Thank you. God bless you for that. Yeah. Okay, next up, Aris wrote, hey, Chris, what's your opinion about econometrics master with a direction in finance? Yeah. So I'm not a fan of doing any graduate business degree aside from an MBA. I've never seen anybody on Wall Street, and I worked, at Goldman Sachs, I worked in venture capital, I worked in the hedge fund industry. I never met anybody that has a master in finance. If you want to, brush up your skills on finance in general, and if you don't want to do an MBA, then I would do the CFA. And I can talk about that in more details if you want me to. In terms of studying economics, it's tricky because, when you study economics, a lot of it is theoretical stuff like supply and demand graphs, which people don't use in the real world unless you're an economist. Yeah. Regardless of what you study, the best way to change careers or get that first job or any job or career change is to network aggressively, which I teach in my MBA program in a lot of detail. Yeah. Okay. Magdalene wrote, good morning from Vancouver. Great discussions. Thank you. My mom was born in Vancouver too, and she turned 80 2 days ago. I love you, Mama, if you're watching. Paul, how are you? Paul Brow. I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. So Paul graduated from my Platinum program a while ago, and I actually met him when I was in Barcelona in the summer of 2018. And thank you so much for the sweatshirt you gave me as well as we walked up and down La Rambla there when my youngest son had a meltdown. She wrote, what's up, brother? Went to Egypt last month. Oh, awesome. I remember you had some roots over there. I thought of you. Hope all is going well. Thank you. And I've never been to Egypt. And my dad is Egyptian. I'm half Egyptian. And the rest of me, I'm quarter Lebanese. And the other quarter is Scottish, Irish, French. I'm Canadian. But no, I've never been to Egypt. My dad teases me all the time, too. He's like, Chris, you went to Rwanda twice, Africa, and you didn't go to Egypt? Why not? Yeah, I'll go eventually. Yeah, thank you. Good to see you. I hope you had a good trip. All right, next up, Al Meets, first time I've seen you. Welcome to the call. Wrote, Chris, you asked, how do we know there won't be more than 21 million Bitcoin? Here's the answer. Here's why we know. You wrote here, Bitcoin source code, Bitcoin white paper, consensus mechanism, all this is open source. Yeah, that's a good point. I've read the white paper as well. It's like 15 pages PDF. Yeah. Okay, and then Abhishek, hey, how are you? Wrote, what's your take on CBDCs? Saudi Arabia joined Enbridge. Japan is exploring offline functionality. CBDCs with smart contracts are also gaining attention. Where's the USA heading? Yeah, I'm not an expert in that area, but I am working very hard on creating a vlog on The Big Short, the movie. And I will touch upon that as well in that vlog. In terms of everybody freaking out about, how oil is now not being priced in dollars. Here's the real deal. and I think people are worrying too much about this. So Russia, more or less, is not allowed to sell oil in dollars. So that's why they're taking their oil and probably selling it in different currencies longer term. I don't think it's going to move the needle at all. Now, in America here, yes, we have lots of problems. But I think that the U.S. economy and the U.S. government is the last business on the planet that would ever fail. Yeah. And I can go into more detail on that if you want me to as well. Yeah. Don't believe the negativity out there. Okay. Next up, Troy wrote, if someone lives to be 150 years old, will they be required to work until 125 years old? What will the quality of life be like after 55 years old? Yeah, a lot of people say they want to retire at 55, which is so young, man. Yeah. I say never retire if you can do it. You know, I always worry when, relatives retire. There's got to be a sense of purpose. And for me, I never want to retire. I guess I'll have to one day, obviously. Life is finite. But the whole notion of working really, really hard so you can enjoy the last 10 years of your life is depressing. Why not live for today? Why not do what you're passionate about today? If you do what you're passionate about, every day is a vacation. And the way you found your passion is if you're on vacation and you look forward to coming back to go to work, which is what I do. Yeah. And I want to help you all find your passion as well. And once you find your passion, something amazing will happen. You'll be more productive, you'll be happier, and you'll make way more. All the best entrepreneurs in the world, they're not just chasing money. They're chasing their passion. They want to make a difference, man. They want to put their dent in the universe. And a lot of people that are developers or programmers, they love doing what they're doing. They love it. And if you try to become a developer or programmer and you're not passionate about it, you're not going to make money. You're not going to do well. And here in Silicon Valley, and when I used to work in BC, we would always say the difference between an average programmer and a really good programmer is 10x in terms of performance. Why? Because a lot of techies love doing what they're doing. They don't have a job, they have a passion. My goal is to help you find your passion. Okay. And next up we got Ya. Hey Ya, how are you? Good morning to you as well. And Ya just graduated from my Gold MBA program. Great to see you. And Ya wrote, if one has an LLC, meaning Limited Liability Corporation, or an S Corp, is putting money into retirement an expense? It all depends. It all depends. So I have an S Corp, because I don't have employees. I have tons of contractors. And I'm able to actually put a lot in a retirement savings, Roth IRA, as well as 401k because of this. But I always want you to ask your accountant those questions because everybody's tax mandate is completely different. Separately, I don't want anybody in this call to do your own accounting. Okay, I want you to hire an accountant to file taxes for you. Why? Because not doing so is like doing surgery on yourself. Because the tax code changes all the time. And you might get a lot more benefits than you realize by hiring an accountant to do it for you. That's why the CPA profession exists. Now, there's no Yelp to find a good accountant. The best way to find a good accountant is to ask your successful friends, families, coworkers to introduce you to their accountant. And they'll happily do it because they're giving their accountant more business. Okay. And then Ya wrote, is having an S Corp better than an LLC? I personally think it is. Now, you can always go to LegalZoom.com and hire a lawyer there to give you advice. I'm not a lawyer. But I think it's better to have an S Corp than an LLC if you don't have employees. Yeah. Next up, Troy wrote, will AI be able to help with reducing housing costs or the costs of owning a home? I mean, I think the way that technology is moving right now is we don't need to live in big cities, right? If the internet was created before big cities, would we still drive an hour every day to go to a big city, an office building? No. So indirectly, I say, yes, it is beneficial for housing because you can work from anywhere you want to. You don't have to start a company in Silicon Valley or New York or anywhere in general. You don't have to be located anywhere to be successful. And what I'm doing, and I haven't really talked much about this, but something I'm proud about, is we just got approval from the mayor in Bethlehem to build a school there as well. You can be anywhere. And so my goal is in the West Bank to help a lot of entrepreneurs become unicorns. It doesn't matter where you are. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Ron wrote, Chris, can I ask why people buy OTM calls and what IV is as a rule of thumb? Yeah, so OTM means out of the money. Yeah. So the most important thing to look at when you're valuing options, and for those of you in my MBA programs, you can go to FA44 for a 30-hour options elective. That's Finance and Accounting Semester 4, Class 4. But when you're valuing options, right, I mean puts or calls, what you want to do is spend a lot of time looking at the historical volatility versus what's called the implied volatility. And if you think that implied volatility is too high or too low, then you might be able to take advantage of that mismatch in pricing. And let me go over this very quickly here. All right. The way to look at implied volatility is you go to finance.yahoo.com and you type up any ticker. And if you see that there's details behind the options options here, then the company has options. Otherwise, this is blank. So what you want to do is you want to look at the implied volatility and you want to look at the historical volatility. And in my MBA program, I teach you how to calculate historical volatility, see if there's a mismatch as well. Yeah. And I teach options from scratch in my MBA program as well. Okay, Bombay John wrote, "Hey Chris, are you atheist? Can you share your beliefs if it's not personal?" No, I am the farthest thing from an atheist. I'm Christian, and actually, so I got this. The reason I'm building a school in Bethlehem is, so I read at my church every couple weeks or so. I read the first reading and second reading. I'm Catholic. I believe there's one God for all religions. But right at the end, when I was doing the announcements in front of the 1,000 parishioners, I introduced this guy who's from Bethlehem. Great guy. And his name is Isis. And he's having a lot of issues right now in Bethlehem because tourism has dried up for obvious reasons on the West Bank. And so this is a cross here, so I wear this. And after I introduced him, I approached him. We've done a bunch of Zoom calls since, and I am building a school in Bethlehem. It's going to be close to a place called Mary's Well. Yeah. So no, I am not atheist. In fact, I have such strong faith that I believe that if we stress out too much about our lives, especially about work, then that is sacrilegious. Because we're basically telling ourselves that we don't trust the plan that God has for us. And perception becomes reality too. Like if you have setbacks in your life career-wise, I don't want you to see that as a failure or a roadblock. I want you to see that as a stepping stone. You know, life happens to you. And you might not understand that now. But if you were just let go, for example, you might look back upon that as a blessing in disguise. You know, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. A crisis is an opportunity if you look at it the right way. And so I think that we all have a different path in life that's predetermined. But I really do think that worrying too much is disrespectful as well. That's just my personal opinion. Because God already knows what's going to happen. And that will put you at ease. Yeah. And yes, I have God in school, where God belongs. Okay. All right. And I can go into more detail on that if you guys want me to as well. I'm an open book. Next question is from DF, which is, will AI adapt faster than people? Yeah, I am very worried about AI longer term. And so, as Warren Buffett said, once you open AI's Pandora's box, there's no going back. And I do a lot of corporate consulting as well, and I've given keynotes at lots of companies, including Dell, Workday, etc. And what these companies, what they've done is they've hired Chief AI Executive Officers, CAIE, which is a new position I think that all large companies are going to have. And I think all major governments also are going to have departments of AI ethics. But we really have to keep AI in check. And, Elon Musk is very controversial. But I think he has his heart in the right place when it comes to keeping AI in check. And there's a reason why he resigned from the OpenAI board. We don't know the exact reason, but it might have to do with something along the lines of keeping AI in check. Kind of like in many countries, the Senate is a sober second look. Yeah, we need those checks to be in place longer term. Yeah. But I really do believe it's a space race at this point. It's a land grab for all of us to establish, our social media presence. Make yourself a brand, right? Be a thought leader. Do it now. Create your YouTube videos, etc. now, as fast as you can. Because again, in 5 or 10 years, we're not going to be needed for that as much as today. And for more details on that, you can always take a look at Sora. So Sora is something that OpenAI came up with. It's video-based AI prompting. It's unbelievable. I got to go there with you real quick because this is going to blow you away if you haven't already seen this. So let me go to, Sora OpenAI. Okay. So everything you see right here was designed using OpenAI. Now, this is not publicly available yet, but it will be soon. So right here, this here, all that is typed here is this prompt. You type this prompt and this video shows up. A stylish woman walks down a Tokyo street filled with warm, glowing neon, yada, 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 yada. And this is such a big deal that Tyler Perry, who makes great movies, the second he saw this here, Sora, this is all AI generated, just this prompt here. Tyler Perry, what he did was he canceled his $1 billion CapEx expansion on his new studio in Atlanta after he saw this. Like all this here is designed by OpenAI's Sora product. That person doesn't exist. It's unbelievable. And near this area here, it looks like Big Sur kind of. But I really do believe that we have 5 to 10 years max to create your own personal brand before you're completely disintermediated. This person does not exist either. It's unbelievable. Like this looks like it's like an old Western movie or the beginning of Red Dead Redemption Part 3, which I hope comes out one day. So I think it's just a matter of time where we're going to be able to, go to OpenAI here and type the following. Create a video game that my buddies and I can play right now that is similar to Halo and Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption based on the planet Jupiter. And it will happen. Or make a movie for me right now with these actors in it. All this stuff was designed with Sora. Look at the detail. And all somebody did was they typed this prompt. Extreme close-up of a 20-year-old woman's eye blinking, yada, yada. It's incredible. Look at this. This is, a homemade video showing people in Nigeria, Lagos, in the year 2056 shot on a mobile camera. Just amazing. Incredible. The future is now. Yeah. And some of these videos, you can tell that they're not realistic. If you look at the people's hands, and you'll see they don't show hands as much in these things on purpose. But there's one of a lady with a birthday cake. See if I can find it. Where if you stare at the hands, they can't get it right. That's cool, man. That's crazy. Just amazing. Yeah. I don't know where the birthday cake is. It's somewhere here on the website. Here it is here. Okay, good. Yeah. All right. So in this one here, and I'll make it full screen, I think. That's good enough. But this one here, if you stare at people's hands, you'll notice there's issues, right? Like just stare at people's hands like that. It's not realistic. And also the flames here are going different ways. You see that? So it's Sora is not perfect yet, but I think it might come out in beta mode later on this year. Yeah, just incredible, amazing. Okay, let me go back to Wirecast. Okay. And then Sanjita, who goes by MTI, who's one of my platinum students based in Boston. She worked at IBM. She's great. You wrote, so grateful for all the goodies that you keep sharing with your MBA students for free, Chris. It's Christmas all year. Thanks so much. God bless you. Thank you. And every day, speaking of my religious views, every single day when I wake up, I do the following, which puts me in a peak mental state before I get up. I practice gratitude by thanking God for 10 things in this order. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, my wife Christine, my mom, my dad, my brother Jamie, my sisters Katie and Elizabeth, and all of you, my students. Thank you. Okay, Gaming Among Us wrote, what do you think of Stephen A. Cohen? Yeah. So Steve Cohen was the founder of SAC Capital, which was a hedge fund that the U.S. government shut down for insider information allegations. And so SAC, I remember I worked at a hedge fund called Kingdon after I left Goldman, and SAC called me to interview me. And so I took the train up to Connecticut, and I went into SAC's headquarters. And when I walked in, such an uncomfortable feeling. I walked through a shark that was encased in glass. You know that crazy art people do? Just to get in. And then on the trading floor, Steve Cohen sat in the middle, and there's position cameras pointed at him. And the different position cameras were different traders for different sectors. So he might look at the Japanese trader camera and say, buy 100,000 shares of Donkey Kong, which is 7974 ticker in Japan. But it was really uncomfortable because when I was there and they were interviewing me, it was really unethical. They tried to get out of me what positions and what the strategy was of the dude I worked for, Mark Kingdon. I wouldn't go there. Mark Kingdon's a mensch, great guy. So again, SAC got shut down for insider trading allegations. But Steve Cohen got off scot-free. And so and most hedge funds are not corrupt. Please don't get that impression. But what Steve Cohen did and what some hedge fund billionaires do is they have their minions, their pawns, their analysts do all the insider information for them. So they are protected. In fact, for many years, Steve Cohen's lawyers would not allow him to read or send any emails without them checking it first. And so what a lot of people do at firms, hedge funds, is they get their minions to do all the dirty work. So they go to jail, but they're insulated, which is total BS. Yeah. Okay. But Steve Cohen has since launched Point72, and he's the largest owner of the New York Mets. Yeah. America's pastime. Okay. Okay, next up, Adiposi from Nigeria wrote, I recently finished your Python course, and it was amazing. Thank you. And then he wrote, I've been putting off learning Python for years, and I finally did, thanks to you and Luca. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. We used an insane number of props, including a 9,500 piece Titanic. Yeah, so I used a ton of Legos, as you know, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I am sorry for all the awful dad humor. But I taught it with tons of props. And Adiposi, if I ever get to meet you in real life, I hope I do, I'm a tiny man. Okay. And then George. Hey, George. George is in my my platinum program. Started on May 6th, yeah. And this is the 9th one-year MBA program we've done. And the next golden platinum program will be launched in January. Yeah. So George wrote, hey, Chris, I bought the treadmill and the brilliant water bottle. I mean, this bad boy here. And then you wrote, I'm getting my ring soon as well. Great stuff. Good ideas. Awesome. I'm glad you like it, man. It's great. This here is an amazing product. So this is called the Oura Ring or Oura Ring, O-U-R-A. And what it does is it tracks the quality of my sleep. And there's a new beta feature they just deployed, which tells you what age your heart is. And so my heart is younger than I am. Not too much younger, but I'm trying to improve it. But this will also tell you if you get the right type of sleep, meaning deep sleep. And it'll also tell you if you should not exercise. And I love it for that. And what that means is this. Every day you get up and you've got what's called a readiness score. And the readiness score will tell you if you should be exercising or not. And George, I just got a pop-up from you. You sent a message on my YouTube channel. But my readiness score today, it's tough to see, is 78. But what it will do sometimes is it will tell you, hey, looks like your heartbeat is a little bit off. Maybe you should relax today. Because if you exercise when you're just about to get sick, you then get sick. So this will kind of save you, so to speak. Now, it's a little bit pricey, a couple $100 to buy and like $6 a month for a subscription. It's expensive, but I think it's worth it. I really do. Now, in terms of the treadmill, I'm so glad you got that as well. And I'm gonna give you guys the link to that as well, because I think it might help people on this call. So if I go here to my orders, so I'm going to go here to treadmill. Here it is here. I've shown it so many times. Search my orders. Here it is here. Yeah. So this is the treadmill I recommend. It's $220, worth every penny, man. And what you can do is you can put it under your couch when you're not using it. And then just get one of these stand-up desks, which I have as well. It's a great deal. And I promise you will get a billion% return on this product. And if you can't do that, what you can also do is you can buy this and take this to the gym with you. If you don't have room in your house for it, you can watch Toy Story on some kind of iPad there. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right, next up, Troy wrote, "You're too funny." You wrote, "I love the baboon sound." Yeah, that's how you remember my name. Haroun rhymes with baboon. And people always pronounce my name wrong. And when I was younger, I remember my mom, dad, brother, and sisters, we go to dinner, and they page us. They say, "Heroin party of 6, heroin party of 6. Okay. All right. Hey, Benny. Okay, next up, Jeffrey wrote, "Hey, Chris, why does Wall Street mainstream media never talk or bring in technical analysts like Larry Williams and Tom Denmark to their program to talk about the markets?" Yeah. I really think it's because day trading doesn't work. And you know, the producers on these television shows, CNBC, et cetera, are pretty sophisticated. They understand that it's not really going to be additive to the net worth of their viewers. Yeah. Plus, you can be proven wrong pretty quickly, which would hurt ratings. Yeah. And then, oh, good. George wrote here, "I'm going to publish my book on December 2nd, 2024, assuming I have you review it and make suggestions." I'm happy to write a review for it too. All right, so December 2nd, attaboy, George. Okay, I want more people to let me know when you're going to publish your book by, so I can ask you about it. And I say it with love in my heart. Yeah, it is life-changing when you create a book. And it's really easy to create a book as well. Like what I do, and I spoke a lot about repurposing content beginning of today's call. But this book, for example, all this is the closed captions of the last 3 hours of one of my 70 courses. And I repurposed it as well. Yeah. And then Obama's publisher actually approached me when Forbes called this book humbly one of 6 books every entrepreneur needs to read right now. They approached me and they wanted to publish it. And I talked to them. I said, no way, because they would own the rights to all this stuff. And I've since then created courses based on many of these 101 lessons. Yeah. But McGraw-Hill does own the rights to this. Yeah. And that was the first and last time I'm publishing a book with a publisher. They're good, though. All right. Great job, Georgia. I love that you threw out that challenge. And I want other people to throw out a challenge as well, please. Okay. Oh, yeah. So George wrote, "How do we access the course for free if we're in the MBA program?" Yeah. Yeah. So go to the very last lecture of your Platinum MBA degree program, and you'll see the links to all the electives there. Yeah, for free. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Sean, how are you? Sean is from Toronto. Great to see you, man. Great to see you. So sad about the Leafs, eh? Yeah. So Sean wrote, just want to say hello, Chris. I look forward to catching up in the near future. God bless you more, brother. And I hope you're doing well. And I can't wait to help you with your startup, if that's something you want to do. Yeah. Okay, next up, Ya wrote, looking forward to the forensic accounting course with Gary. Great guy. He is a great guy. Yeah. I do so many calls with him as well. We have so much fun. He's a good dude. He's a perfect guy to teach as well. I mean, he used to be an investment banker. He also was a teacher in China, and he's a good dude. He's fun to talk to. He knows, and he's a CPA as well. So I'm learning so much talking to him. Okay, next up we have Alex, who wrote, hi, Chris. Thank you for sharing all your great insights every week. You're most welcome. I saw an article from an economist saying the stock market could crash close to 90% in the next few years. What do you think? So there's a famous quote that I'm going to butcher, which is, economists have successfully predicted 75 of the past 3 recessions. Yeah. And I don't care if the market crashes, because the way I look at investing is I'm so long-term focused. If the S&P 500 over the next 20 years looks like this, I don't care. I'm focused not on the path, but on the destination. And you'll sleep better at night as well, if we think that way. Yeah. Okay. And then Priscilla wrote, thank you so much. I'll look at your MBA program. Awesome. And Priscilla, if you want, you can set up a call with me. If anybody's interested in talking about my MBA program, I'll show you how to set up a call with me. Just go to my website, harounmba.com. And at the bottom, I'm partially covering up the corner here. Just click this button to set up a Zoom call with me. And we can do a 20-minute Zoom call. And yeah. Okay. All right. And I do have to wrap up this call soon. And for those of you in my silver, gold, or platinum MBA program, at 10 a.m. today, you can log on to, meaning in 15 minutes, log on to the Zoom call. And we'll do the weekly Zoom meeting. Yeah. Okay. And Adiposi wrote, for Priscilla, I definitely recommend starting a side hustle in addition to your job, and use most or all of that extra income towards your personal wealth. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Completely. And Priscilla, if you want to talk about that in more detail, just set up a call with me. Yeah. Thank you, Adiposi. Good to see you, bud. Okay. Adiposi is also an architect, and he spends a lot of time in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. All right, next up, Real Living wrote, thank you for the MBA / economic description and not doing a finance degree. Yeah. And then you wrote, would you ever consider an MBA doing a DBA doctorate in business administration? Yeah. When it comes to PhDs, which stands for plumbing, heating, or dishwashing, or Pizza Hut delivery. Just kidding. When it comes to PhDs, I only recommend doing that if you really want a career working in a university, if that's something you're passionate about. Otherwise, I don't know if it's really worth your time. Yeah, it's 4 or 5 years of your life as well. And for anybody thinking about going back to school to do a degree, what I recommend that you do is this: if you're going back to school for a degree because you want to change careers, before going back to school, I recommend setting up 100 informational meetings. And during those 100 informational meetings, you try to see if you can change careers by networking. And if you can't, after all 100 meetings, then consider getting a degree. So, for example, a traditional MBA degree costs you $100,000. And if you do 100 meetings first, see if you can change careers before spending $100,000 on the MBA. Then think about each one of those 100 meetings as saving you $1,000. Yeah. Okay. And then Yao wrote, there are many AI Instagram influencers right now. A good amount of them have sponsorship brand deals. It's crazy. Yeah. Things are changing quickly. It's nuts. And it's bizarre because on TikTok, for some reason, I keep getting these ads for AI avatars as a girlfriend. And maybe I'm getting them because I'm curious from an AI perspective, but it's scary because these ads they're so realistic. It's like Scarlett Johansson from the movie Her. Hey, Mark, how are you? Mark always types in caps. He's my brother from another mother, based in lovely Michigan. He wrote, "Thanks, brother, for the book recommendation. I bought Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. Incredible book. The bullying he took is crazy." You wrote, "I hope all is well with you and the family. Thank you." And thank you for all those. And then you wrote, "Also, congratulations for the mayor approval from Bethlehem." Thank you for that. Appreciate it. It's a great book. So I listened to the entire Elon Musk book by Isaacson on Audible, which was incredible. And I also recommend, if you haven't already done so, to read or listen to Isaacson's book on Steve Jobs. Yeah. And then Poke Pack Fire wrote, "Where do you buy the bracelets?" I don't know, actually, but I've got a call set up with Isis later on this week, but I'll ask him. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a great way to support Bethlehem as well in the West Bank, because tourism is way, way down there. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Waleed Jr. Wrote, "Missed you, Chris. I miss you too, bud." You wrote, "If I use an SPV, meaning special purpose vehicle, to buy my first small business, should I use another one for the second investment, or should I use a holding company LLC fund structure?" Yeah. So let me explain SPVs from scratch really quickly. So let's say we want to start a venture capital company together. And what we're going to do is we're going to invest in tons of companies in our portfolio. So we create a fund, and the amount of money we collect, we get a 2% annual management fee, and then 20% incentive if we harvest those investments at a higher pricing point. The 2 and 20 structure, similar to a hedge fund and a private equity firm. Now, let's say that we want to start a venture capital firm, but we're like, you know what, man? We only want to invest in one company. So in that case, you set up what's called a special purpose vehicle, SPV. And because it's a one stock or one company portfolio, and there's no risk management because it's one investment, you cannot charge 2 and 20. You charge 1 and 10. That's an SPV, which I've done a lot of in the past. That's the only reason I'd look at doing it that way. And if you're trying to start your own company and you want to get equity investors, I don't think you need to set up an SPV. I would talk to a lawyer, register the company name, and then create an investment offering memorandum. The lawyer will do all the due diligence and stuff for you. And then you sell a minority stake in your company. But when you sell part of your company, you make sure that you get the voting rights. For example, what Zuckerberg did was, if you go to the cover of this S1 for the Meta IPO, this is from May 12th. Okay, this is an amended version of the IPO, May 12th, 2012. In the small print, you can't read it here, obviously. He owned 55.8% of the voting rights in Facebook after the IPO. So I want to make sure that you get the voting rights. So if you sell part of the company, what you can do is the shares you sell can get, 1 vote per share. But your class of shares, I mean class B or whatever it is, you get 10 votes per share. Talk to a lawyer first, because if you give up part of your company and you have board members that have majority say in the company, they can push you out. And a bad board member is worse than a bad marriage. Because in a bad marriage, unfortunately, people get divorced. But a bad board member is a thorn in your side. You're stuck with them forever. All right. And then Kevin wrote, "Hey, Chris, you speak about investing 20% of your portfolio and 5% in each ETF. Yeah. So, no. What I said was 5% maximum position in single stocks. If you have ETFs, maybe 10% or so max. Make sure they're liquid, though, and low risk." You wrote, "Is your portfolio the sum of your net worth? If not, how much money do you allocate to your portfolio?" Yeah. So when you think about portfolio management for your personal net worth, I think about all the cash you have to invest, right? And don't include real estate as part of that, your house. So whatever amount of money you have to invest, that's your portfolio. And that's where I recommend 5% per position, max. And make sure you have good portfolio management as well, to the extent that you don't put all your money in one sector. Like, don't just own all tech stocks because they're highly correlated. Have some financial services stocks as well as healthcare, industrials, commodities, etc. Yeah. Okay, and then Neelansh wrote, hi, Chris, is it a myth that you should buy companies with a low PE? Yeah. Yeah, I recommend when you do your due diligence on companies, value companies based on your earnings estimates in 5 or 10 years, based on your financial model, right? Don't value companies based on today's PE. It's somebody else's E estimate anyway. Create your own estimate. And that way you can stomach owning companies that look like they trade at 100 times earnings today. They might only trade at 4 times your earnings estimates in 5 or 10 years. And I teach that in a lot more detail in my MBA degree program. Yeah, I teach you finance and accounting from scratch and investing as well. Okay, next up, Jerry wrote, hey, Chris, just exited from a company I founded. Congratulations. You wrote, what are your thoughts on going into investing a la family office with my newfound liquidity? Yeah, that sounds great. What I would do first of all is make sure to talk to a securities lawyer to register that company and make sure that you have all the tax savings possible and you set up a revocable trust for your family, etc. Yeah. And what you might want to do initially, just to kind of get an understanding of private wealth management, is you might want to hire a private wealth manager from a firm like a Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, whatever it might be. And just to get an understanding how they manage your money for a year or two. And then what you can do is you can branch off and do it yourself and then start to collect capital from other high net worth investors and start your own private wealth management firm. And private wealth management is the best job you can possibly get in all of finance because it's the only job where you can work at an investment bank managing money and then leave and take your clients with you. Yeah. And actually, Jerry, if you want, so one of my students, Brian Hart, he's a very successful money manager. He does private wealth management, and you could set up a call with him. And I'm going to show you how to contact Brian. Genius guy. Okay, I've learned a lot from him as well. So if we go to LinkedIn, I'll show you right here. And just when you send him a message, tell him I totally reach out to him. Let's go to Brian Hart. Here he is. Really good guy. So there he is there. So reach out, just take a screen print of this and reach out to Brian. He's also my MBA program as well. Really, really good guy. Yeah. All right. And I do have to wrap up this call in a second. Okay. Okay. Sanjita wrote, China released Vidu, a text-to-video AI tool that challenges Sora. It's being used by 600 million, I believe, already. It allows creating 16-second videos in 1080, similar to Sora, but with shorter length. I've never heard of that. Thank you for mentioning that. Let's check it out together. Because I'd love to try Sora, but I can't try it yet. Loom-style videos, AI personalized at scale. Is this if this is not the one you're talking about, let me know, please. Vidu.
Video personalized video is a simple, scalable tool.
I don't want to get a copyright strike, so hold on a second. This might not be the copy you're talking about. Let me try again. Vidu. Yeah, let me know the exact name of the company. And actually, Sanjita, you're in my platinum program. So why don't we discuss this, and I'll do a deep dive on it with you together at 10 a.m. today. Yeah. And just use the same Zoom link you always use. Yeah. Or you can join me at 11:20 today. Your call. Yeah. Okay. And then Adiposi wrote, wow, I didn't know about Sora until now. And then you wrote, OMG. It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah. And for those of you that do Zoom calls, before you do your Zoom call, and if you have this is what I do. And my wife taught me how to do this. You get rid of the shininess on your face, so you don't set a bad first impression. There you go. The shine is gone. All right. And then Ray wrote, what is the most unconventional investment strategy you've employed? Yeah, I'll disclose it now. So All right. So what I did was years ago, when podcasts were first released in the summer of 2005 by Apple, what happened was this. So Barron's is a great finance publication. I got to wrap it up in a second. But Barron's is kind of like the Wall Street Journal on Saturdays. Barron's comes out every Saturday. And Barron's moves the markets and stocks as well. And Barron's would always come out on Saturday morning. But I realized that at 4:01 p.m. New York time every Friday, Barron's released the podcast version. So what I used to do was I have my trader sworn to secrecy not to reveal this to anybody, but I would listen to that podcast at 4:01 p.m. And whatever stocks were profiled, like in a positive way, I would buy those companies as much as I could at 4:01 p.m. Now, because the market was closed, and at 4 o'clock, most traders are a dinosaur, there wasn't that much liquidity. But I did that, and I did that for several years. And then eventually, they stopped releasing the podcast at that time. But it was fair game. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to wrap up this call. I know there's tons more questions. Please either save your questions for next week, or what you can do is join my MBA program and then join me in a couple of minutes. And for those of you, my silver MBA, if you go to the first lecture in your curriculum, you'll get the link to the weekly Zoom call, which starts in 4 minutes at 10 a.m. my time. And for those of you in my Gold and Platinum program, you can also attend. Just go to the usual Zoom link. God bless you all. Check out this offer I have where you can get access for 7 days for free to all my courses and my Silver MBA program. And the way it works is this. I'll show you. So go to learn.harounventures.com. And then when you're here, just scroll down, and I think it's right here. Here it is. You get all my courses plus Silver in 4 hours per month of group Zoom Q&A, including the call we're going to start in a couple minutes. And you get a 7-day free trial. And if you don't cancel after 7 days and you're charged $99 a month, cancel anytime. Yeah. And so this trial offer ends pretty soon. Okay. And if you want to do a call with me as well, you can always go to, I think you can, yeah, there should be a link if you go to my website to set up a call with me. HarounMBA.com, click on that blue button that appears down here to set up a call with me. God bless you all. Please click the like and subscribe button. And I will see you all next week and every single week. God bless you. And say a prayer for Willie Mae's family too. Thank you.